those days when it's just not happening? You need to go in the kitchen and prep meals, but you can't seem to even crawl in there. Whether you're single or you have a family to feed, the good news is there are numerous meal options to check out. Gail, Isabel, and I all get this question frequently. Are there prepared or semi-prepared meals that work for me after surgery? Yes, stay right where you are. We're going to take a close look at some of the most popular meals you can order.
ProCare Health offers easy and affordable solutions with once daily multivitamins, including our new DS and SADI surgery formula, increased iron, A, D, E, and K. Still just one capsule a day. Visit ProCareNow.com and use code Susan60 to get a free bag of protein powder with $60 purchase.
Hi, I'm registered dietitian nutritionist Dr. Susan Mitchell, ex-radio dietitian turned podcaster. You're listening to the Bariatric Surgery Success episode number 91. I'm here to help you cut through all the health hype and give you accurate, science-based nutrition information worthy of your time and all your efforts. Simple, step-by-step strategies that can change your life right now, today. I want you to feel well every single day. Get out there. Do the things you want to do. That's why I do the Bariatric Surgery Success podcast for you. You're in the right place. I'm so glad you're listening. Do you love the podcast? Do you benefit from it? If so, would you please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts? Yes, I'd love a 5-star review, but just be sure and let me know what you love most about the podcast. These reviews are really helpful. Thank you. Joining me are bariatric dietitians Isabel and Gail. Isabel Maples is a registered dietitian and bariatric coordinator with Fakir Health in Warrenton, Virginia. Gail Smith is a bariatric dietitian at the Weight Loss and Bariatric Surgery Institute in Orlando, Florida. You can find both Isabel's and Gail's contact information in the show notes. Hey, Isabel and Gail.
Hi,
hey,
Susan.
How are you?
Well, today we're going to have fun because we have each critiqued 2 meal companies looking specifically at calories, grams of protein, grams of carbs and fiber, plus portion sizes. And we had specific nutrition criteria in mind so that the meals would work after surgery when you're ready to eat regular food again. So as a reminder, here's the criteria that the 3 of us looked at. Our calories somewhere in 250 to 400 per meal, protein at 15 to 30 grams per meal. Carbs can be 5 grams up to 15 or 20 per meal. Fiber can be 3 grams up to 10 or 15 grams per meal. And then we put sodium, even though it's not on the top of our list, somewhere around 100 milligrams up to 300 and 400 per meals. Okay, you're thinking, wait a minute, I can't remember all that. Don't worry, because you can use these same ranges to critique meal options for any company you're interested in too, because there's so many companies to consider. So I'm going to put the criteria just mentioned that we used in the show notes so you can refer to it. And I'm going to put the links to the various companies that we critique. That way you can go back to each of those if you choose. So Isabel, I recall you saying to me, gosh, I had this 3 people asked me this question last week about what meal. So why don't you start with your critique on Freshly?
All right. So one of the things you could do is see the menu before sign up. Obviously, you want to know what your choices are. And my tip also is to pick 3 or 4 different products and then try each for a month and try it out before you commit long term. But that said, with Freshly, one of the things to know is that these are heat up meals. There's no cooking involved. And so they're pre-made, but that also means that you can't customize them. You can't customize the ingredients and you can't add or subtract the salt or the fat out of it. So you get it like you get it. And that might be great for you. Price-wise, you're looking at about around $8.50 to $11.50 per meal. And they, in terms of the nutrition requirements, criteria, you're talking about 250 maybe to 400 calories. But one of the things you don't see the nutrition information necessarily for the individual meal until it arrives at your doorstep. So you may just get a general idea and not know all the details later.
Okay, so hold right there. I want to ask a question. So you can't go online and choose a meal and see the nutritionals for that particular meal?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, another thing you can do is, in terms of the criteria, they are higher in salt than our criteria, but they were in the ballpark for calories, for, fat. They were, from a carbohydrate point of view, they were anywhere from like maybe 15 grams of carbohydrate to 25 grams of carbohydrate. They also, it might even be, especially that first year, that might be something you split in half, have it for dinner the next day, and then have it for lunch.
Okay, because that was what I was going to ask you. Do the portions, when the portion comes, is it in a portion that's correct for where they need to be, 3-4 ounces, half a cup, whatever? Or do they need to take a step up front and divide that out so they don't eat it all at one time?
Calorie wise, they're okay. Like when you looked at the protein, for instance, some of them might be 5 ounces and some of them might be 2 or 3 ounces. So there could be some range there in terms of the protein. But in general, you're going to get things that are higher in protein, moderate in carbohydrate, pretty low in fat. So that's definitely a plus. And of course, they, like any of them, they have codes for, a discount to try their products out.
Very cool. Okay. So Gail, what was your first one? Did you do HelloFresh, I think?
Yes, I did HelloFresh because I'm pretty familiar with it. I have been using it for a couple years, and the reason I like it is I think it has really good quality. All ingredients are fresh and responsibly sourced. They're very simple meal kits, okay? Now, if you want a pre-plated meal that you just pop in the microwave or oven, they also make those. The variety may not be as great as the actual little meal kits. I like that the recipes are easy to follow. You can go online, take a look at the ones you want. They let you actually get down to the actual recipe and see how difficult or easy it is. They have like 2 to 4 people meals. I think the smallest they make is the 2 meal for the kits. As far as how many meals you're required to buy per week, 2 to 4. So you don't have to have one for every day to make. What I also like is you can skip weeks. There's no commitment, I have to use it for so many months. I also like to choose the 20 to 30 minute meals. And you do have some diet preferences there. They have a classic, a veggie, a family friendly, and a lower calorie one that's also meets the bariatric group maybe a little bit better because it is a little lower in carb. But it's really your choice, and you can mix and match. You don't have to choose all this or all that.
Portion size. Yeah. Okay. Here comes the but. So
yeah.
There's always a but, right?
Yes. The portion size is large. It's probably 5-6 ounces for the 2 meal plan. So the bariatric patient probably can make 4 to 6 meals, for the rest of the week to freeze.
Okay.
And, it does give you calories, but it doesn't always give you the protein, the sodium, and things like that. But I would definitely recommend not using the salt that they tell you can use, or season it with more spices like your onion, garlic, or perhaps even your parsley and things like that.
Okay. Sounds good. When I went to choose my 2, I looked for ones that were specifically designed for bariatric surgery because I thought, I want to see if that's even out there, first of all. And I have to tell you that I found 2. So my first one is called Berry Box. And it's a pre-made bariatric meal delivery service. So just like several we've already talked about, the meals are under 300 calories. They average 20 to 30 grams of protein and less than 15 grams of net carbs. Now you're probably going, wait a minute, what's a net carb? So when they do their net carbs, it means they take the total carbs minus the fiber and then minus the sugar alcohols. And sugar alcohol is usually deducted out at 50% or half the grams of sugar or alcohol. So their criteria all worked for us. You would expect that it would, because their meals are designed for weight loss surgery by dietitian Jana Wolf. So I was impressed with the high quality ingredients which they use. And that's a big part of their promotion, local and high quality ingredients. Their menus available, new ones about every 2 weeks. So I did try the chicken Alfredo broccoli casserole, and I have to tell you, it was pretty tasty. The chicken was grilled, even had the grill marks on it, moist. I would estimate the portion at about half a cup, so maybe 90 grams to 125 grams, or a little more, which works nicely. Okay, but here's the but. Because I'm a stickler for food safety, I would tell you to check the internal temperature of any meal from any company after it's heated in the microwave to be sure it's heated all the way through. I found that the microwave time suggested on the chicken Alfredo label was not adequate to raise the internal temperature to 165 degrees. The time needed varies from microwave to microwave. So always have a food probe thermometer handy. Okay, I also had the peanut butter brownie, very good. Contained 10 grams of protein using whey protein isolate. All the nutrition criteria fit, but the portion size was, in my opinion, just too large. It could be the meal itself almost in terms of size. So I would like to see it cut in half or quartered so you could freeze the rest for later in the week. And you're probably thinking, well, why can't I just cut it? Well, you most certainly can, but this is what I've found to be true. If the portion that comes in the package, it's the portion you typically eat when it's tasty. Am I right? And again, their meals average about $9 to $10 a meal. So in the same range we're all talking about. Okay, Isabel, you did a cool one. Bistro MD, right?
Yeah, I did Bistro MD, and the idea is it's chef prepared. You can get it for every meal of the day, which would give you 1,200 to 1,400 calories a day. It's designed originally by the husband of a bariatric surgeon, and she was looking for, her patients were also saying, wow, I need options. You can also get it for different stages. It doesn't have to be your final, you can get it for the puree stage, for instance, or soft foods. And the meals can be ordered 7 days a week, all meals, or you can order things like just the lunch and dinner 5 days a week. So you've got some flexibility with that. It's definitely an emphasis on lean protein, 25 grams or less of net carbs, just like Susan was talking about. So you've got a consistent amount of carbohydrate through the week. You've got some individual support because they have registered dietitians on staff and can work in your needs within that calorie and meal range.
Oh, that's fascinating to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely got the support there. And you've got a lot of variety. I didn't taste any of them, but in terms of sounding, they all sound great, like barbecue pork and lasagna, marsala pork, tenderloin, salmon with a dill mustard sauce.
Okay, stop. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, I am too.
They've got, it's a restaurant sounding names for their meals, but there's the emphasis on, adding fruit or low calorie vegetables, and moderate in the blood sugar response. And obviously at 25 grams of carbohydrate, or the calories, you theoretically could save some for lunch maybe the next day too. Oh, and one thing is they have about 150 recipes. They do rotate those seasonally. So you might have the option of about 100 meals, but remember that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's not 100 dinner meals.
And, I want to say before you start, that one thing is so important for us to remember. Nutrition criteria is great. And we looked at these hard for how they would fit into your life after surgery. But remember that we eat with our eyes and what we read and what we see, like Isabel was just saying. So yes, that criteria has to be there. But if it doesn't look good and it doesn't taste good, you're not going to eat it. And you're going to feel like the food has been, or your money's been wasted. And I think you're seeing all of these companies, every single one of them, whether they're geared towards bariatric surgery or not, focus on freshness and ingredients and how they taste and look. Wouldn't you both agree?
Oh, definitely. And you're right. I mean, if it's not tasting good, you're going to start feeling deprived. You need the flavor to feel like it's worth it.
Absolutely. Okay, Gail, home chef.
Oh, let me add one more thing, Susan. I forgot to add. One is that there are no contracts, so you can, come and go as you need. And it is chef prepared, which means you're not cooking it at home, whether that's a plus or minus for you.
All right, Gail. All right. Home chef. They're interesting because they have a couple options for you as well. You can do the meal kits, grill them, and they have grilled items that you buy separately and then add your own veggies at home. And they even have the oven ready meal. Well, that is the oven ready meal, but they have a fresh and easy plan is what it's called, where there's a dietitian looking over them. They're fresh and easy, carb conscious, and calorie conscious for that. Now, they do give some guidelines. For one serving, it's like 600 calories, which for the bariatric patient, you'd probably have half of that would be closer to 300. The carbs are around 30, so 15 for one for you as a bariatric patient. The fat around 30, but you'd probably either kind of use less in the meal kit and then end up with like 15, 16. Protein's pretty high at 48, but for the size the bariatric's going to have, it's going to be closer to 20, 25. And fiber, 3 to 10, so you'd even be, less than 3 to 5. Sodium, pretty high, 1350, but again, you could use less, and half of that would be around 500, 600. So I kind of like this idea of having the dietitian overview. They do offer different plans, different options, like all of them do, 2 to 4 people or 6 people. I don't know about the one person, but I guess if you bought a prepared meal, even if you got 2, you could keep one, you can put one in the freezer if they arrive fresh. Most of these items for both HelloFresh and Home Chef are brought to you fresh. They're not frozen. They come with ice bags in there. And every time I've gotten one, they've been still very chilled. They keep the proteins, like the meats, separate from the other items in a bag, so nothing gets wet or crazy. But there's lots out there to choose from.
Yeah, excellent. And the bottom line I hear you saying is that it puts the onus back on us. You've got to pay attention yourself to the portion sizes.
Exactly.
Yay. Excuse me this morning. Okay. So my last one is called Tiny Tummies. All right, my Australian listeners, I didn't forget you. Thank you so much for listening. Tiny Tummies is based in Australia. It's unique. Excuse me. The pollen is a real issue, and you can hear it in my voice, and I apologize. It's very unique, and it allows you to customize your meal plan to meet your surgeon's post-op diet recommendations. So Tiny Tummies includes 3 phases. They have fluids, puree, and soft phases, and then, of course, a maintenance plan. It was founded by Laura and Rachel, and both of these women have had weight loss surgery themselves, so they've gone through it. And Tiny Tummies has won numerous innovation awards. So they focus on portion size versus nutrition criteria. Their portions average about half a cup, so 90 grams to 125 grams for a post-op meal. And then their maintenance phase where the portions go up to 200 grams or close to 1 cup. So what I did was I went in and looked at the nutrition criteria for various meals on their website. The calories, the protein, and carbs all fit what we were looking at for criteria. And that's great because it fits as them being a bariatric or a post-bariatric product. Fiber's not listed on their nutrition information, but their meals are microwavable. That seems to be the trend across the board, as you've heard most of us talk about. So again, be sure and check the temperature after it's heated, just to be sure. Numerous meal selections as well. So as you can see from what we've done, there's a lot of choice out there. Gail, Isabel, any last thought or tip that you missed that you want to say, okay, I think it's important that you know this?
I just would like to add one thing, and that is these kits give you the opportunity to still cook if you want to and prepare the items, use your creativity and add things or subtract things from them, or you can buy the pre-plated meal as well.
And you might want to think about frequency delivery. Like, how often does it come? Well, if the foods come frozen, obviously you don't need them very often. But if it's fresh ingredients, how often do you need that? How likely are you to stick to your schedule to cook on Tuesday evening or Thursday evening instead of keeping that food in the refrigerator for a few more days? So how fast are you really going to do it? If it's quick and easy, like Gail's talking about, 20, 30 minutes, everything's portioned out for you, all the ingredients are in place, it's as quick as takeout. But if you're a person whose schedule changes a lot, you may want to consider the delivery frequency.
Okay. Thank you so much. And, as a wrap up, I would like to remind us all that, as I mentioned earlier, we eat with our eyes. So when you heat or prep your meal, be sure and put the food on a small or nice plate or in a pretty small bowl. Set up a placemat, set up a napkin. That makes the meal take on an entirely new look and a feel of enjoyment rather than if you heat and eat from a bag. When you heat and eat it from a bag or the container, you're not going to feel satisfied. It's hard to practice that mindful eating where you enjoy each delicious bite slowly. So remember, these meals can be a great help when you're not feeling your best, you're stressed or pushed, or you just want a little help. Take care of yourself. You are worth it.
Bariatric Surgery Success with dietitian Dr. Susan Mitchell is produced and owned by Practicalories, LLC. All rights reserved. Remember, the content provided on this podcast is for information purposes only and doesn't create a patient-provider relationship. It's intended to provide reference material and is not designed to provide medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider regarding any medical issues you have relating to symptoms, conditions, diseases, diagnosis, treatments, and side effects. Podcast guests express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions which do not necessarily reflect or agree with the host, Dr. Susan Mitchell or Practicalories, LLC.